Or some coming to invest. We're talking about investing, finance, and professional development. For today's items only, the investment of today would be 30 ETH. So it's my second posting as of today. Respective recording time of 12:40 p.m. on the Eastern Time. Ethereum currently trading $3,418, up about 0.31% so far. Respect to overall crypto market is, again, trading more of a sideways fashion ever since the, consecutive volatile days we've been experiencing so far, right? And just knowing the fact today is a Sunday, let's do a recap on what happened in the last 7 days, right? Starting from the last Sunday specifically, from the Christine Lagarde news that talk about suspicious warning towards crypto assets, right? And subsequently, obviously, with that affectation coming from the European Central Bank, the president, drives some sell-off from there, right? And then subsequent to that, we had the FOMC meeting, learning about from Jerome Powell on the timing with respect to the quantitative tapering or the easing plan that we have in play, right? Obviously, based on the verbiage that we've learned from Jerome, is still inconclusive, right? He said he's going to be giving us more of a confirmatory signal by November this year, so technically next month. So we still have basically a month to wait upon the confirmation on the next steps, right? But on his high-level depiction, he says something about that we're going to be starting somewhere around like the beginning of next year, and then do rates all the way to mid next year, technically by September. So it's going to be like a 6 months of tapering, basically to normalize the economy, try to get us back to the normal cadence, like it wasn't like COVID never happened. But obviously, with the job numbers still as a mandate, and obviously to further sustain our livelihood on both on the consumer side, but also on the corporate side as well, that's something that is still a big question mark. And also, we were hoping that we'll learn something along the line with respect to crypto bills, that Don Bai has been initializing collectively with Janet Yellen and even Gary Gensler from the SEC. It seems like, they are putting some enforcement on it, right? And then chronologically, the next factor that occurred macroly was with respect to the Evergrande news that happened, that tanked the China market, right? With respect to the Hong Kong index, the Hang Seng index plunged on that specific day, right? And then subsequent to that, we learned more Chinese news with respect to the China crackdown on banning, basically, not banning, I would say just frankly shutting down 10,000 crypto mines in China, which subsequently drive the imbalance from there, right? Despite the imbalance that we already have with the burn rate versus the cultivation rates that we are having with Ethereum ever since the 2.0 shift, right? And then the big aha as we shift to the October timeframe from September, we heard from Jerome Powell out of nowhere saying that he has no intentions of banning crypto. So now this is where we left off right now, subsequently drive to a level that we at right now at $3,420, up about 0.37% so far. So let's take a look at some of the news I've been collecting so far. As you can see, I got a haircut today. I'm actually heading out later. I'm actually giving a speech later today in a conference to talk about the fun that I'm doing, but also to do some politicking, if you may, and mingle with some people in the political arena as well. So I look forward to doing so. So let's see on Bazinga 25 minutes ago. Talking about, for the first time ever, institutional trader favor Grayscale's Ethereum Trust over Bitcoin Trust. This is something we have heard so far, right, from JP Morgan specifically, I believe on, Monday, so not too long ago, right, when we were still in September, on their depictions around that their institutional clients are shifting their Bitcoins and other equity holdings as well onto Ethereum. So this is another regurgitation to talk about some of the institutional traders are actually seeing the bullishness a little bit more favorable on the Ethereum side of the world, which is something we appreciate. Obviously, me as a relatively large investor in Ethereum, currently have 56 Ethereum in total right now, which I still hope to cultivate into 100 someday. So I definitely, appreciate this, but at the same time, do not appreciate this because I do want to, buy at a more of a discount rather than the premium that we are trading at the moment, right? And then the next one is talking about with respect to Ethereum fractal from 2017 that resulted in 7,000% gains for Ethereum appears again in 2021. So basically, they talk about historical trends. If we are to replay the movie per our technicals in the 2017 setup, right? Obviously, the economy is very different now. This is we are years away, years ago. I mean, we have passed, and the current economy nowadays is very different. We have a lot more institution and corporate entity that are in the equation that we have to also, triangulate with, right? So this is something that's more of a speculations, right? But if the technicals does stay true, right? And remember the factors that we talked about earlier this morning, the three factors with respect to, firstly, inflationary pressure, secondly, with respect to obviously the supply-demand imbalance, right? And also lastly, the cup and handle that we are also noticing at the moment. So with all of these three factors in play, while at the same time with the corporate blessing and the SEC blessing at the same time, should subsequently drive some euphoria, media affectation, subsequently should technically drive us to, reach again all-time high again. But in terms of timing, do we know when is that going to happen? We're basically months away from the end of this year. So, for us to continue on the rally, while at the same time have the anti-correlation effects from the equity side, that's something I frankly don't know. I'm not a wizard, but if that was the case, I would be a wizard. I would be able to predict the timing. But ultimately, I'm just look at the risk management level. And again, the Cointelegraph might have an incentive behind why they're writing this specific article. And why they're bullish on it, right? So we have to take it with a grain of salt, despite how positive and how favorable that we appreciate. But at the same time, again, we do not appreciate because we want to buy at a discount, right? And the last one is really coming from another regurgitation news that I don't have to mention, but I'll just talk about it. So Dogecoin founder proposed Ethereum bridge and NFT compatibility as a ways to bolster Doge network. So as you know, the Dogecoin have been collaborating with with various different influential members in the Ethereum ecosystem with respect to Vitalik Buterin, who is on the board of Dogecoin, Elon Musk as well, and it seems like they are collectively working with the founder of Dogecoin to cultivate more NFT commercialization and adoption, to see if there's synergies on partnering alongside one another rather than just being a competitor, if you may, right? So that's something we appreciate. Ultimately, competition cultivates innovation. That's something we appreciate because that will subsequently drive us to, to improve the value proposition that we have, what is already, relatively reputable, to be even more sustainable, which is what we're looking for long-term wise, right? So let's take a look at the technicals now. So with respect to Ethereum, as we are trading at 12:48 p.m. on the Eastern time, current trade $3,421. We are forming a golden cross. We formed that recently, and we are at the 57 out of 70 right now. So we're relatively bullish in that sense. We are trying to get to the $3,475, which is the next technical level to leap up to, right? But the next real level for us to continue the bullishness would be the 3,843. So technically, we still have basically $400 for us to go to the next level. However, we know that we are leaning more for our overbought level. In the the 70 would be like the maxed out. So something we'd be mindful of that. I think the durations for us to leap to the 3,800. I think the probability would be relatively low. I give this maybe a 30% likelihood we actually leap up to the next level, knowing the fact that we have a golden cross, so we give that as a favor. But eventually the golden cross will be curving down. Think of this as like a ball, right? Like, let's say like a football player throws a football, across the field. The line is going to slowly form a trajectory, and we're going to form an apex soon. And I think the apex this should be coming. And I think the apex should technically be somewhere around like the 3,683. and then we should be cooling off from there, because unless this guy has like a super strong arm, a mechanical one that can throw the ball up in the air for no reason. But I don't think we can do that humanly possible, right? So hope you understand my analogy. So I think the frame of reference is still 3,150, 2,750, 2,450. Again, 2,450 would be greedy for you if you are waiting until we get there, right? So buying within these levels would be a logical move, right? So Bitcoin, we are forming, this is like a little cup, right? So this is quite interesting. However, we are at the 60 out of 70, so we're relatively, more of an overbought level right now, and the curvature is forming, and I don't see any signs of curvature down yet. So technically, if we are going to keep going up, we would be going to like the 50,000, and I think that should do it. And by then, we'll be overbought completely, and the market will be incentivized to sell back down. So are we going to reach all-time high? Based on the setup right now, I would say no. Unless it's like some craziness happens, like everybody sells everything and everybody goes into Bitcoin, but that's not logical at all, right? So within this logical frame of reference, we'll still be at the 43, 40, 37, and 34. Again, if you buy at the 34, you'll be greedy then, because you're chasing the dips. So you have to buy at the logical frame of reference within these levels, right? So Dogecoin right now, we are still bullish. We are at the 46 out of 70, so which is relatively good. We are forming a relatively more of a neutral cross section. So again, the dip was at the 19 and the 20 cents. Right now, we are still in the bullishness. So I think the next level leap up should technically be the 23 or $24, and because that's the next leap up as a substantive level. But then we have a huge leap to go to the 26, and then a huge leap all the way to 30. So that's a relatively interesting one. So maybe buy now and hold until we get to the 25 and then sell from there. So that's a relatively good gains. I know the digit is small, but depending on obviously your size of the investment, right? So Cardano, we just formed a cross. So we just formed a cross. We were not crossed this morning, so we just did it. And now we should technically be leaping up to the next level of $2.35. So we'll technically have another 10 cents to leap up to. And then if we are even more sustainable, we can potentially go to the 245, and even ideally at 250, because we just formed it. And we still have some room to go up to at the 49 right now. So with respect to Solana, Solana is still sustaining bullishness because we formed the cross section, right, with the 64. So I think by the time we leap up to, again, like the 195 or close to 200, we should be selling back down. I think 215 will be a stretch. As you can see, it is a stretch because the line is relatively narrow, because unfortunately some people did buy on the top because of FOMO, and this little line is basically telling you so that some people selectively have bought in at the FOMO section when we're at the all-time high 215, right? So right now this is a bullish setup. I think we should technically leap up to 195 and then sell back down, because 195 is a resistance level, as a psychological one. So, and when we get up here, we have basically very little air. You need an oxygen mask or oxygen tank for you to breathe, and I think very few people can actually climb Mount Everest, if you may. And this could subsequently be, this is a very dangerous trade setup, but something we'll be mindful of. But overall, right now in short term is relatively bullish. XRP, we are leaping to the 110. Which makes sense because we formed a cross section with the 54. So I think the next test level would be the 110 and then sell back down from here. Or even potentially go to the 115, I think, but that should be it. I don't see us going all the way to the 150 anytime soon, because of the fact that by then we'll be extremely overbought and the market will be incentivized to sell back down again. So with respect to the overall market level, again, we are in the anger, depression stage right now. We've been watching this movie for a while now, ever since the euphoria stage, and then the complacency stage. We've been looking at the movie, together, watching the movie together, looking at the movie. What am I saying? And it seems like we are seeing these the stage of anger, or early stage of preliminary depression at the moment. So something to be mindful of, but if we are able to get through this together, we will be able to get back into the optimism, the belief, the thrill, the euphoria, and that's how we're going to get to the all-time highs again, and even above it someday, right? And with respect to the frame of reference that I've been talking about, with respect to Ethereum, let me just expand this a little bit for you guys. 3,150, 2,700, 2,450, right? But if you bought at the 4,000 a while back, just hold for a long term. Eventually, you will reward yourself and you will thank yourself for holding strong. Because patience always wins. You will never lose with patience if you believe in the long-term value proposition of any asset or equity, right? So hopefully this is helpful. Really appreciate you for dropping by again on a Sunday or Monday, depending on where you are. And let me know if you have any questions. I'm actually going to get lunch now and then head out. And then I think this should be my last video for the day. But if there's any volatility coming later tonight, I'm going to be back pretty late. So, like, if there's anything specific that jumps out of the page, I'll, definitely come back in. But really appreciate you for your support and daily love every single day. And take care and have a good day.